Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new, welcome. It has been 2 weeks since I have been to the grocery store, and during that time we have also hosted for out-of-town guests, so we are very limited on the food that we have this week. However, I made a goal to do kind of a chopped kitchen style, and we are not going to the grocery store. We are going to reinvent our leftovers, and we are going to use what we have on hand all week long. Whether you are trying to save on your grocery bill or just trying to clean out your fridge before your groceries, I hope this video gives you some ideas on how you can reinvent some meals. We are about to hop in the pool, but really quickly, I'm gonna throw together dinner. I did not go grocery shopping this past weekend. I went the weekend before, but we've had guests staying and we have a bunch of like random leftovers. So I think much of this week, I'm just gonna try to piece together leftovers and use whatever we have on hand. So tonight I'm going to kind of make some type of bowl. I don't even really know what to call it, but I have a bunch of rice left over. It's pretty plain rice, so I think I'm going to just kind of add some stuff to it. I'll add some, I don't have broth, so I'll do some type of bouillon. I'm not sure if I'll do beef or chicken, but either way. I got some black beans I'll add into it. I love water chestnuts, and so does most of my family, so kind of thought I'd add some water chestnuts. I have some stuff from the garden. We have some grilled chicken. What else? There was, oh, we have a bunch of corn left over, so I was gonna add that and do maybe some type of like Tex-Mex type of bowl. I don't know. This week we are going to be basically doing one of those weeks that I often talk about where it's like one of those chopped kitchen type of weeks. If you have seen that show, it's like a cooking show where they just use ingredients that they have in the pantry there and make a meal, and that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Those weeks are always kind of fun, and you can sometimes find some really great recipes. You use whatever you have on hand and you just make it work. So that is what we're going to be doing this week. Another goal of mine is to also cook mostly in the crock pot or on the grill, or use our stove and oven kind of minimally, because it is supposed to be so hot. So today is actually really hot. Let me show you what we've actually been doing. So I have these curtains open because they're like sheer curtains, but any of our heavier curtains, we actually have had them shut. So it's kind of dark in here. We have the sheer curtains on this door too, but we have the shade over to block a lot of it out. We have the shades down, curtains covering it. We have this put up for like winter time, but we also use it in the summer to keep all of the drafts and everything. It helps in the winter keep all the cold air out from our front door. We also have them on other doors that are drafty, so we have all of our curtains closed, and I just put the broom down there to kind of hold it. So that helps with that, but it's kind of dark in here for that reason. We're keeping it dark probably today at least, and tomorrow I think are our hottest days this week. It's supposed to be actual temperatures of like 100, 101, something like that. And then feel like temperatures, we are supposed to be getting like 115. So it is very hot out. I have the dogs out there now just for a couple minutes. I'll let them in, and then like I said, I'm going to start dinner, just throw something together very quickly, and then we're gonna hop in the pool for a little bit. So let's throw something very quickly together. But my goal, like I said, for this week is going to keep things very minimal in the kitchen, or we'll do crock pot meals. We're going to be just taking whatever we have on hand. We won't be doing any grocery shopping or anything like that. So whatever we have on hand is what we're going to use for this week, and we're going to try to keep it very minimal in the kitchen to keep our house kind of cool. So let's get started on that. I realize that this method may not be ideal for a lot of people. However, these weeks that I do this, I really kind of have fun with it. I always loved that show Chopped, and I have not watched it in a really long time. I actually don't even know if it's still on, but I always love that show, and it's kind of fun. Sometimes you can really come up with some really fun ideas in the kitchen, come up with some new recipes, and some of them actually really stick. This is also a really great way if you're trying to get rid of some stuff in your pantry or your freezer or your fridge and just reusing some stuff, limiting your food waste. This is such a great way to do all that. We were given several ears of corn. So our guests, they came from Illinois and they brought us several bags of sweet corn, which I was so excited about because we have not had Illinois sweet corn in forever. So I was pretty excited. However, we did not eat very much of it. So I am taking the corn that we had already heated up. I'm taking it off the cob, and like I said, I'm kind of doing like a Tex-Mex type of thing is what I was going for. I have some grilled chicken that we grilled a couple days ago. I have this corn, some beans, just a variety of things that I'm going to throw together in the skillet. If you're going for a different vibe, you could definitely switch it up with whatever you have on hand. As I mentioned, I did previously cook this corn the night that we ate it, and so I'm just using the leftovers. I took it off the cob, and I have it in this skillet with some butter. I put some garlic in, and I'm just kind of roasting it before I add in the rice and other ingredients to get somewhat of a little bit of a char on it. While I'm working on adding all these ingredients, I wanted to quickly mention something that I've been working on. So if you've noticed, I've been a little bit MIA lately, and that is mostly because I have been working on other things. So yes, it is summertime and I'm trying to enjoy that time with my kids and just kind of, taking things a little slower. However, I have been working on adding another channel, and so I will have that up and running. I'm hoping within the next week or so. I'm also working on a TikTok and other various accounts that I can kind of post different content on. If that is something that you're interested in seeing, I will have all the information and details available here soon once I have all my ducks in a row, but I just kind of wanted to share that I've been up to new ventures and I'm very excited about it. On here on YouTube, I have very limited things in terms of the algorithm. It only shows what the algorithm thinks that I want it to show, and so it just seems very minimal, and I was wanting to branch out a little bit and share a little bit more of our life. So anyway, that is something I have been working on, and as the details come more available, I'll definitely share them here with you. I just gave this a taste test and it is so good. So you can put some salsa, some cheese on this whenever it's done, a little bit of sour cream. If you have like avocados or whatever kind of vegetables you like, you can definitely put that on top. I think I'm going to just chop up some green onions. Sometimes my kids like a jammy egg on top, so I'll ask if they want that, but this was so simple. Didn't require any new ingredients, so everything was on hand, and it is seriously delicious. So I'm going to finish making this, just kind of warming everything and letting those flavors meld well together. So I'm going to get that done. I'll bring you back here whenever it is time to eat, but I'm going to finish this and then go get in the pool. So I'll see you a little later. Here is how dinner turned out this evening. I just asked whoever wanted an egg and I put one on top. So just a couple people wanted eggs and a little splash of hot sauce. This was a perfect quick meal that used up a bunch of leftovers. And like I said, this meal can be made a variety of different ways. That is one reason why I love weeks like this. You can switch a meal up depending on whatever you're feeling that day and just really have fun with each meal. For our next dinner, I have a couple pounds of bacon in the fridge that I'm needing to use up. We have not been huge with breakfast ever since I've been on this diet. Really, my younger boys are like the only ones that really eat breakfast. So I am wanting to use this bacon and kind of mix things up a little. I have made this recipe a bunch of times and probably a couple of times on my channel, but I have not made it in a really long time. However, this is one of my family's tried and true favorites. This is something that we always call bacon carbonara. This one is simple and delicious and you really can't go wrong with it. So in this pan, I have about a pound of bacon going that I chopped up. I'm sauteing that. I have some garlic, Italian seasoning, some onions. I don't always add the onions in, but I really did like the touch of that, so I added that in. A lot of times I'll also add in spinach at the end. However, I did not have any. I was actually very limited on vegetables in particular. So I ended up serving a lot of fruit this week and whatever I had in the garden, which are these cherry tomatoes. So I already had these washed from the garden and we did like a veggie tray. So I got these from the veggie tray. I took out the bacon once it was done, put that aside, and I'm just cooking these tomatoes to kind of soften them. I'll take those out and then we're going to start on the pasta portion and just kind of assembling everything to make it a nice creamy pasta. So to make the sauce for this pasta, I end up scrambling a couple of eggs. I'm taking the tomatoes out of the pan now, but I'm going to use that same pan, and it has a little bit of the grease left in it from the bacon and just, you know, the giblets and stuff left over from cooking everything in that pan. So what I like to do is I take the noodles, I'll put those in the pan, they get nice and coated with the bacon grease, and then I'll slowly add in the hot pasta water into the eggs and then kind of slowly add that egg mixture into the pasta. So I'm just kind of going to toss them into that mixture until it gets to the consistency that I'm wanting. You'll see I'll add in more pasta water, just trying to get to a consistency that I'm wanting for the pasta. Once I'm at that consistency, then I'll go in and I'll add back in the bacon and the tomatoes. If you have any spinach or anything, you can add it at that point too. As I'm tossing the pasta in this egg wash mixture, I will also put in some Parmesan cheese, any more garlic if I want any, or pepper, anything like that. I usually will toss in while I'm tossing the pasta around. So again, just getting to the consistency that you're wanting. I don't end up using this entire egg wash mixture. It's been a while since I've made this and I couldn't remember how many eggs I usually use, but I didn't end up using as much as I thought I used. And here's how dinner turned out. Like I said, this is one of my family's absolute favorites. I always come back to this. And I've also made it a variety of different ways. You could make it with chicken if you want to. This is always how I end up doing it. I know that it's probably not the proper way of making a carbonara, but this is how I have done it for a while. And this is one way that my kids always love it. We have these leftover brats that I'm wanting to use, so I'm going to make some homemade mac and cheese, and then I'm going to coin these up and put them in it, kind of like an old school meal. My mom used to make mac and cheese and hot dogs. Instead, I'm going to do these brats, and honestly, I think they're Philly cheesesteak brats. So I'm going to cut these up, cook them, and put them in a homemade mac and cheese for dinner. I don't know if I have ever actually shared this recipe on my channel before, or if I have, it's probably been a little while, but I have started, well, it's been a little bit since I started making homemade mac and cheese, and I feel like it's so easy, and my kids, they constantly ask me to make this particular recipe. I never really end up buying like the boxed kind or anything anymore because my kids constantly ask for this one, and it is just insanely easy. I don't know why I never really made it before. So I kind of start off by making somewhat of like a gravy or a roux. I don't get it very dark, so I don't really want to say roux, but I just start with a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of this pan, and then I cook probably about 1/4 of a cup of flour. This is really just measure with your heart type of recipe, which a lot of mine are. So once I have that kind of thickened up, I'll start adding in the milk. I will add in garlic. I add in Dijon if my daughter is not watching me. And I will just slowly add in the milk and stirring it consistently to get it nice and creamy, and I just kind of add that. I go through that whole process until it's the consistency that I'm wanting. So as I'm cooking it, I'll add various things, like I'm adding just some chicken bouillon, some pepper. I actually add in quite a bit of pepper, but I was making a large pot of it, so it ended up working out just fine. But like I said, you'll just kind of add in the milk slowly until you get the consistency that you're wanting. And I wait until the very end to add in all the cheese. Once I have my cheese mixture all put together, I'm going to take it off the heat and I'm going to work on the pasta. Now, I was going to use a different pasta. However, my daughter was adamant that it had to be elbows, so that is what I'm adding in. You'll just cook that according to directions, and this might seem a little backwards because it kind of is, but I am scooping the pasta into here primarily because I wanted to keep some of the pasta water in case you want to thin it out a little bit. So the pasta water works great for that. I ended up scooping some in, and then I just went ahead and drained it and put it in. Again, I did reserve a little bit of the pasta water to use as it was finishing cooking. So now that I have the pasta all done, I'm going to cut up these brats. This was another thing that we have previously cooked on the grill, so I didn't need to cook them or anything ahead of time. I'm just going to slice these up in little coins, and then I'm going to put them right in the pasta. It is nice and hot, so it will warm them up really nicely. I'm curious if you had this meal growing up too, or a version of this. I know my parents made a version of this meal growing up constantly. We probably had it like once a week or once every 2 weeks or so. It was just a very easy meal, and I almost feel like it's one of those like 90s struggle meals, but it was so delicious. I remember me and my brothers, we loved a meal like this growing up. And I don't think it was ever with brats. I think it was always hot dogs and boxed mac and cheese, and that did not matter at all to us. We still loved it just the same. We are on our last day before we go grocery shopping for the week, so kind of looked in the freezer to see what we have. I found some chicken breasts. I think there's 2, maybe 3 in here, but we have at least 2 chicken breasts. I think I'm gonna try to throw something in the crock pot maybe with this. So I have to look through my recipes, get some ideas, but I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing for the family. I got out this salmon. I'll thaw this and then have a couple ounces of that. So not quite sure what we're going to have just yet, but I got these out of the freezer and I'm gonna go look for some ideas. I just realized this is in fact not the last meal I have to come up with this week. We are going shopping a day later, so I will actually have to still come up with one more meal for our week, which is fine because I think we still have like a pound of ground beef or ground turkey or something like that in the freezer. So I'll just have to go through and kind of look for some new ideas for recipes for that. So we'll do that tomorrow. But for today, we're going to just put some chicken in the crock pot, and I'm going to we have a bunch of buns that we didn't end up using from Sam's Club. So I think I'm gonna do some type of like a grinder chicken sandwich type of thing, and we'll put it on the bun that we got from Sam's Club, and we'll just have that. I'm not sure what we're gonna do for a side. We don't have like potatoes. I think we have some rice, but I'll have to see. I'll have to go through my pantry and see. It's chopped kitchen week, so it will be fine. Anyway, so I'm going to get all the ingredients out for this, throw this in the crock pot, and then we'll get it going. It's still kind of early. It's only about 10, but I have my chicken is still frozen, so I want to get it going and have plenty of time for it to cook today. I feel like this meal was essentially like a Mississippi pot roast type of thing, except it was with chicken. I love how there's a variety of that particular meal because it always goes over really well. I actually recently came across a recipe where it was Mississippi pot roast pasta, I think. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it because they name them different things, but I feel like for the most part it's like the same exact ingredients, just kind of done a little bit differently. And I like how people are kind of incorporating pasta and rice and stuff like that to kind of switch up a tried and true recipe. Okay, I'm gonna start this on low, let it cook low and slow for about 6 hours. and we will see what we got. I've never made this particular recipe. I've made something very similar though, so it should be good. Like I said, I'm still trying to decide on the sides, but I'm gonna throw this in, and it's funny because it's still frozen, but I have a kid that's like 2 rooms over that just yelled, "Hey, what are you making? It smells really good." So already smells very good. I can't wait for it to just completely smell up the house, make the whole house smell really good. So several hours have gone by. I think there's only about an hour left on the crock pot, so the chicken is cooked for about 5 hours. I'm shredding it up, and then I'm going to add in the rest of the ingredients, which basically was a block of cream cheese and Parmesan cheese, maybe a couple other cheeses. We'll see here in just a second, but oh man, I love meals like this because, like I said, I mean, you could smell it. It smelled so good all around the house while it was still frozen. And while it cooked, it just smelled incredible. The entire house smelled incredible. So I love meals like that. And a good crock pot meal is nice too, especially on these hot days, because then you don't have to warm up your kitchen. Anyway, I'm throwing in the block of cream cheese, and then I'm going to let it cook and kind of meld together before I stir it up. I'm going to jump ahead again here. It has been about an hour that I have had this cream cheese in here, so I'm going to stir it all up, and then I'll add in Parmesan cheese and some Colby Jack, which is pretty much all I have. So if you have other cheeses, you could definitely use those, but I was just kind of using whatever I have, and it ended up being Colby Jack and then just some Parmesan cheese. After this, it's pretty much done, so I end up putting the lid on, and I'm kind of working on other things for like sides and stuff, which, like I said, I did not have a bunch of vegetables. It was pretty much just whatever we had from the garden, and we had some fruit. So I ended up doing fruit, and I did a cucumber salad, which I've talked about on my channel a million times because that is something that we have pretty much all summer long. It's one of my favorites, and by the time we get to the end of summer and we get through all of our garden, we're kind of sick of it, so we don't usually end up eating it too much during the winter time. But it is so great to have when you have a garden with cucumbers and tomatoes. So that's pretty much on repeat, but this was dinner this evening and it turned out delicious. I want to give something a try for dinner tonight. So we are going to be taking the leftover garlic potatoes. I made them a million times in my video. I have them from leftovers when we had guests over. I made a huge batch and we did not eat them all. So because we are doing a chopped kitchen this week, I want to use these because I don't have enough potatoes to make like a mashed potatoes. So we're going to use these, and I'm hoping that I can make like a garlic mashed potato out of them. Anyway, let's see what we can do with these. For whatever reason, I really questioned this meal. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And I don't know why I never thought to reuse the potatoes in this way. They ended up turning out great, and I'm not sure why I never ever thought of that. So I only had a couple of potatoes in the pantry. I went ahead and I roasted those, and so those are in here, and I'm just throwing in some sour cream, some milk, and trying to make it into mashed potatoes. So these are garlic potatoes that we previously roasted. We actually had them with the corn, and I'm just trying to make them into more of a mashed potatoes, reinventing our leftovers, and it worked out perfectly. To go with this, I basically did like Salisbury steak type of thing. However, I was a little lazy about it. So I ended up just cooking some ground beef and making it into a gravy. I had a couple of gravy packets on hand, so I just utilized those and made it into kind of a Salisbury steak type of dinner. So I know I've made something similar to this before, but that's what it reminded me of, Salisbury steak, which my family actually really enjoys. My daughter is the only one that doesn't care for that type of thing. However, she enjoyed this meal, and I think it's because I wasn't calling it Salisbury Salisbury steak. So I think if you like mix up the wording and stuff, if you have like a pickier child, I feel like that tends to help sometimes. But anyway, that's pretty much what I did. It has very similar ingredients. I was just kind of calling it something different and made it a slightly different way, but it ended up turning out. And this is always, I always love serving either broccoli or green beans with this. So that is usually whatever I have on the side. I will admit this is not the prettiest meal whenever it is done, but it really hits that homey, comforting spot. And so I love making this, especially in the winter time, but it has been a long time. So it was nice to just kind of whip that together real quick, and it ended up turning out really good. But anyway, this is how dinner turned out, and that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.